Did you cry when you first watched the end of Act 1? Me too. But what if I told you it can be improved? Improved in a way that could make us cry even harder, because there are narrative hiccups that can be fixed, which in turn would intensify the drama's tragedy. Interested? Wonderful, because of course everybody loves to feel buckets of tears, right? So let's see how Act 1, mainly Powder's story, could traumatize our emotions even further by fixing some narrative hiccups. I will first be presenting the hiccup, then the theory, and then the solution. So, the first narrative hiccup, thematic emotional inconsistencies. Have you ever found it slightly odd that Powder would recoil and shy away when Milo critiques her, but at other times would act defiantly and blame others? Or when Powder would blame Vi for abandoning her rather than blaming herself for blowing up the team, but apologizes and blames herself when she shot Silco even when Silco was the one who unintentionally triggered her trigger-happy instincts. Why do these feel a little odd? Well, I think it's because there are two emotional themes here that conflict with one another. The people-pleaser against the self-entitlement emotional themes. The reason they conflict is because they lead to very different outcomes when they reach rock bottom. People-pleasers implode, hating themselves, whilst self-entitled people explode, hating others they view responsible. But can't people just be both? Of course, yet one still needs to be dominant and be the North Star that the character instinctually resorts to. Why? It's so that we can see their emotional themes grow stronger or collapse, which is kinda a big reason why writers put characters through unbearable drama, and why many of us love watching stories. Because this is the moment when the gentle people-pleaser snaps into a ruthless villain immune to puppy dog eyes. Or the moment the self-entitled jerk finally feels ashamed of themselves and begins such a satisfying redemption arc that the viewers actively tries to forget their past crimes. It's the epic transition of bitterness or humility of a character that makes emotional theme consistency a rewarding discipline, because only then can you feel when it changes. Therefore, if a character flip-flops between imploding and exploding when hitting rock bottom, their trajectory of emotional growth gets muddied, as there is no consistent emotional theme to track. So how can we implement this theory to solve Powder's dual emotional themes? Though it is important to note that the writers giving Powder two emotional themes is still an admirable pursuit despite its consequences, as attempts to paint complexity should always be appreciated. But that's not our priority. We want drama, we want tears, and we want to feel the emotional shift and drift so hard that Fast and Furious may be compelled to collaborate with Arcane. So, should we make Powder's emotional theme be 100% people-pleaser or self-entitled? I say 100% people-pleaser. And yes, 100% not dominant, 100%. It's so that you can feel the clean shift of the theory at work here. But why people-pleaser? Well, it's because that it would be more consistent with the existing Powder/Jinx character and storyline, whilst holding better drama potential for the emotional theme shifts. I said consistent because she mostly acts as a people-pleaser in the establishing act. Her main motive is to be good enough for the team, essentially seeking validation and approval, which is a very common people-pleaser addiction. In moments where Powder hears critique alone, she internalizes instead of externalizing her pain. Despite blaming Vi for leaving her and saying she's not her sister anymore, as an adult, she still looked for her, seeking that sweet, delicious Big Sis validation cookie instead of seeking her sister for vengeance to settle the score. And lastly, her reaction to shooting Silco instinctually is to apologize profusely instead of blaming him for making her shoot him. She is more consistent to a people pleaser. And I also say better drama potential for the emotional shifts because in Act 2, Silco's whole job was to make Powder not feel guilty and seek Vi's love and approval by making her more self-entitled, aka blame it on everyone else. Which is amazing because then we get clear emotional shifting points. She can be a 100% people pleaser in Act 1, be in a tug of war between the two teams in Act 2 and 3, and shift dramatically to self-entitlement in the finale. So how would a 100% people pleaser Powder look like in Act 1? Well, basically all Milo's complaints would be met by people pleaser reactions. And if you're a people pleaser, please share your thoughts on your people pleaser habits Powder could possibly adopt. Like apologizing without being wrong, apologizing when being wronged, apologizing when being right, having the self-respect of a peanut, having the confidence of a walnut, and finally asking Vi for love and approval every 30 seconds. Are you beginning to see the picture now? Good. Now imagine the Act 1 tragic finale, but Powder is rapid-firing apologies to Vi instead of asking why she left her. Vi then slaps, leaves, etc., etc. But when Silco comes, and this is where the people pleaser aspect really shines, what does Powder do? Jump hug him? Nope. She apologizes again and profusely for blowing up the factory, for vaporizing the grumpy lady's arm, and even for taking their time to hear her apologize. Yeah, at this point even Savika probably feels bad. So Silco tries to comfort Powder, saying, "It's alright." But she says, "No it ain't, I'm a failure, a jinx, ooh." But then Silco is like, "Yes, and you did incredible." And Powder is like, "Nani? Did you just accept me when I'm at my worst and even had the guts to give me validation cookies?" And so she pounces on the arms of that guilt-free narrative. Silco pins the blame on Vi and makes her hate Vi for it. Ta-da! Powder's shift to self-entitlement has begun. Did you feel the drama intensify? Let me know. But onto our second narrative hiccup. Active choice beats unfortunate circumstance. When Vi left Powder in the rain near the burning enemy headquarters, did you feel that itch? Like Vi should have just brought Powder to safety first, but then nope, too late. Silco shows up, then Marcus snuffs her out, and the itch for drama just grew because this all feels like a big misunderstanding. A misunderstanding drama that can easily be solved with one sisterly conversation. Did you feel that itch? If you did, good, because that means you like drama as well as crying. High five! Creating drama from such misunderstandings due to unfortunate circumstances often yields lower drama because the conflict lies within information, thus it does not require character growth to resolve, but instead a simple conversation to realign the misunderstood information. Active choices, on the other hand, create a conflict of intent. There ain't no misunderstanding that can brush this tension with a simple conversation. One or both characters need to grow towards humility or bitterness in order to change their intent and reconcile with the other person. And that tension to growth is where we can feel the drama. So let's apply this to the Act 1 finale again. Powder giddily blows up the team. Vi slaps her, gets mad at her, and calls her a jinx, or whatever. And let's also say that Powder sprained her ankle from the 3-story fall, so she can't run. But then, oh, Silco and the gang pops up. Will Vi carry Powder, risking her speed and her life, or will she...
I'm done saving you.
Whoa! She just fed her to the wolves and didn't even say sorry! Oh my, the brutalness, the ruthlessness, absolute emotional obliteration! Oh man, even Silco probably feels bad. Like, how can one recover from such a betrayal with such a clear intent? Will Vi grow to feel humility for leaving her sister or stay bitter? Will Powder be able to resist being bitter in hopes to rekindle with her sister? Like, it would be so awkward if they met but haven't grown. They can agree to disagree, but Vi will still defend her betrayal, and Powder will have to either forgive and hope for the best or become bitter. There is no conversation that can solve it without character growth. One or both has to budge. I hope that gave you goosebumps. If not, then I'm sad. And I hope that makes you happy. Happy enough to check out Narrative Hiccup number 3. Thematic Logistical Intrusions. Have you ever wondered why Powder, who flops at everything 99% of the time, but rocks at shooting, does not utilize this shooting skill instead of her bombs of disappointment? Great question, as nobody asked, because that shooting scene should not have happened, or at least should have been worse, as Powder's team requires her to be a failure, which this skill display contradicts. But as we know from the future, the purpose of it was to foreshadow Jinx's inevitable markswomanship prowess. I meant spray and pray shooting habit. But the thing about foreshadowing is that it should stay in the foreground or the shadow, but never in the spotlight. It was supposed to hint, not state, whisper, not blast with a police light like it's Christmas. Why? Because then logistical questions may arrive, like why the bombs and not the guns? Like the amount of kinetic energy in that pink poof is surely enough to power a hand launcher to send a marble or chili powder sacks flying at the enemy's faces, making her useful to the team, and really earn the name Powder from fear, agony, and blindness. Plus, being good at shooting makes her confident, and we want her self-loading for maximum drama. So the solution to this foreshadowing can of worms is simple. Make her fail at shooting but hit the mark once, yet that one hit gets her a compliment from Vi, and Powder loves it, inspiring her to be better at it, to get more of that big sister validation cookie. Alright, on to the next narrative hiccup. Narrative hiccup number 4. The Sharky over Monkey alternative. Say we don't fix the previous problem. So Powder is good at shooting. So why doesn't she just shoot? Well, she should have. Just think about it. If she can shoot, she has more utility for the team and can gain confidence. Oh, we can't have that, can we? Let's make her guns have velocity limitations. Yay! She is useless with low self-esteem again. So now she has to work on her bombs to be useful, which keeps failing until she meets the hex crystals. Gun, hex crystals equals first Sharky prototype launcher? Okay, this is more of an alternative than a solution, but I do think a prototype shark launcher would be more in line with Powder, since the monkey bomb doesn't really have a weaponry appearance unlike the Sharky bazooka. This way, the episode 9 finale weapon directly mirrors its first prototype in the Act 1 finale. Pretty cool foreshadowing alternative, eh? It's just a thought. But on to the next hiccup, hiccup number 5. Flashback versus foreshadowing. During the Powder crying scene, did you find the flashback memory to connect the dots of the hex crystal explosion just a little bit odd? If so, why is that? I think the reason it is odd is because it was flashbacking an explored past. The reason flashbacking to an explored past is odd is due to the logic of why didn't you notice it back then? Why connect the dots just now? Whilst the regular flashbacks are used to see the unexplored past to get new information for the drama. So what's the fix here? Simple. Remember foreshadowing? This is a great time to use it, as when the hex crystals fall, Powder should notice it just a bit, having a hint until the explosion with blue sparks, leading her to suspect that her blue sparkly crystals caused it. This could even escalate the tension, making Powder feel guilty and worried, and maybe even confess to Vi about it, who tells her to keep it a secret or even throw it away, which Powder does not do, because again, she wants to feel useful. And this may just come in handy later on, despite possibly pissing Vi. Much drama potential indeed. Alrighty, on to our last hiccup. Insufficient build-up. Did you feel like Powder's crying scene was a bit sudden or way too intense? If you didn't, then lucky you, because I recoiled and went like, ugh, because it felt like a melodrama. Allow me to elaborate. We know Powder was upset, but not this upset about not being ready. Though it is unsaid, she knew that she wasn't ready, as nothing said otherwise. And every time she felt useless or not ready, she has always been quiet, even when she's alone. And now that Vi just says the quiet part out loud, she cries this intensely? The emotional turmoil is not adding up. The tension snap of "you're not ready" doesn't really say anything Powder doesn't already suspect. Because what did Powder ever do to feel like she's ready in the first place? The motivational speech? I mean, if Arcane's message was that believing in yourself gives you superpowers, then sure. But that is not Arcane. So there needs to be more tension that snaps to send her to this fit of imploding rage and self-loathing. So let's see if we can make that. First, since implosion is the goal, we need to lift her confidence. The higher, the more devastating the fall and implosion will be. Remember the arcade scene where Echo saves the team with the ladder? Yeah, let's scrap Echo and make Powder utilize her shooting skills to, say, shoot a button ladder release and save the team. Maybe even sprinkle in a little bit of Vi whispering, "I believe in you, Powder! You are ready!" before she shoots and succeeds. Now the team loves Powder. This useful Powder. She has gained the confidence that she always wanted. And best of all, this gives her an argument nugget against anyone who calls her useless or not ready. But what do you know? Vi calls her exactly that when Powder tries to pull out the argument nugget to join the vendor saving mission. Powder is shooketh, looking at Vi with googly eyes, saying, "You lied to me?" And Vi is torn. But then Milo kicks in to defend Powder, protesting Vi's choice. She can help, Milo yells, and Vi, feeling cornered and pressured, maybe rats Powder out for being the cause of the explosion. Whoa! Yeah, I mean, if the lie about believing in her wasn't enough, this betrayal will just break any sense of trust left in Powder. It's harsh, yes, but now the team turns against Powder and she will be safe, as Vi thought. Maybe then as well, Powder hides under the blanket and tries to hold and hide her tears from bursting in front of the team, as embarrassment is the last thing she can handle. Vi tries to explain that she's doing it because she cares, but Powder asks, "Is that a lie too?" And then Vi hands her the blue smoke torch thing so she can find Powder, but Powder doesn't trust her anymore. And as much as this harsh treatment breaks Vi, it will keep Powder safe. So now when the team leaves, she can finally snap and burst out crying, as now there is finally a sufficient amount of tension that can implode to cause such a visceral scene. In my opinion, at least. But what about your opinion? Did the solution to the narrative hiccups improve Act 1, or at least powdered narratives for you? Do let me know in the comments, especially if you think of other hiccups or solutions in Arcane's Act 1. And I might even make a self-dubbed mock-up for these solutions to experiment and see if these solutions actually improve Arcane in real time. Though, being a beaver voicing many humans, the mock-up would probably sound very ridiculous. Alright, that is all for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Timberly yours, Bookshelf Beaver.